You check your cell phone and see who she called. Or perhaps you're gonna pay a private investigator to see what she does, where she's going, who she goes with. That's control? Really? Is that what you think is control? You're controlling her? In the previous video, or rather in the previous episode of this podcast, I talked about machines and plants. Um, I would strongly suggest that you do listen to that video or watch that video because it's very important. Because it talks to us about perhaps the most important thing that we have to learn how to keep constantly in our minds and heart, and that's the concept of control. Now, we don't have a very good relationship with the word control because somehow we feel that control is something that takes away freedom from us. You know? Now, we control people all the time, but we do not want to be controlled. That's where the problem is. That's where all the conflicts come from, where we somehow feel controlled. Now, it's not control itself, the problem, but the quality of control. Because as I said in the previous video, where I talked about the machine paradigm and the plant paradigm, where in the machine paradigm you have a direct control because you program, you set the washing cycle and you decide what the machine is going to do. So you have a direct control on the results that you want to have. Unfortunately, for these people who think this way, we live in a systemic, in a natural environment. We are plants that live inside plants. Plants is, of course, is a metaphor, which means we're nature that lives inside nature. And so we understand and we respond positively with what is natural. And what is natural is indirect control. In other words, you cannot control nature directly. You cannot make nature do what you want. Now, we have reached a level of technology that is very powerful, and we are capable of bending nature. But that's going to result in a disaster because we cannot control nature. I mean, talking about having an ego, there is no way you can control nature. You can bend it, but eventually it will backlash on you. That's a promise. Now, we don't want that. We don't want that at work. We don't want that home. We don't want that anywhere where you have to, look suspiciously at each other. Is he trying to control me? What does he want from me? Why does he want to make me do that? And all that stuff. We don't want that. We do not want to be controlled, but we don't mind to be controlled indirectly. In other words, making us understand or to behave in a certain way where we can understand what is best for us. Now, this can get pretty close to manipulation, which is a mechanistic type of control. It's just like imposition. You impose things on other. I mean, that's obvious. That is an unnatural control. Manipulation is not so evident, but it is definitely a mechanistic type of control because you want to induce me to do something that benefits you. That doesn't work. It's different from indirect control, where I work on the nature, on our nature. And you can fool people on that. You're not manipulating them if you're working on their same nature. And you help them get what they want, which is also important for you, by the way. I mean, if you're in a couple relationship, okay, you want to go, you want to be in a good place, right? As a couple. And you bring flour to your woman and she prepares you the nicest dinner you want. That's not manipulation. It's taking care of each other. It's being considerate to each other. And that's part of nature. You treat a plant well, you give it the water and the fertilizers and the food, whatever that it needs, it will grow fantastically. You're not manipulating the plant. It's different. It's a different concept. Now, what happens when we control how we do 100%, 90% of the time by 90% of the people? Perhaps even more than that. For example, we are the only beings, natural beings or creatures that have control, can have control. Animals do not have control systems. Okay, at the most, they will control that nobody gets into their territory, otherwise they will attack the intruder. But that's not real control because you have to fix a situation. Control is about avoiding that situation. So that's different. And animals do not have that. They do not have a preventive type of control as we human beings have. But even then, we kind of tend to be either impositive or manipulative. And that doesn't work, as I said. Let's make an example. You doubt that perhaps your spouse has a lover somewhere, that she's cheating on. Oh, yeah, she's cheating on you. So what do? You check her cell phone and see who she called, or perhaps you're gonna pay a private investigator to see what she does, where she's going, who she goes with. That's control, really? Is that what you think is control? You're controlling her? Well, you're getting her to do what you would want. What would you want? Not for her to go to somebody else, or would you want her to be more loving to you? See, that's the question. That's the problem. If you're smart, you will want the second option. But in order to have the second option, you have to behave totally differently. You have to stop being an a-hole, okay, and do what is important for her. Take her for hour, take her to dinner, telling her the things that she wants to hear. She doesn't want to go, women usually do not really want to cheat their men. But they will if, as anybody else, we don't fulfill their needs, their basic needs, which is being attentive to them, understanding and giving them what they want. And if you do, you don't have to ask her, listen, are you cheating me? Or do you want to make love to me? Or stuff like that. You don't have to ask that. You know that will happen. That is true control. So what are the things that you have to really look after in order to have the control that you want and that you need? And that's following the 7 principles that somehow support reality. The first one is life. Now, there would be a lot to talk about this, so I'm going to make it real quick because I just wanted to have you an idea of what these principles are without getting too much into depth. The principle of life, of course, safeguarding life in all its aspects, respect for the other person and for life, the quality of life for your life and the people you love the most, and even for your environment, and one that is specific for human beings, their dignity, which is not like respect. You owe respect to everybody, anybody. But dignity, no, dignity, people have to earn that. But you can help them grow and develop their dignity. The other thing is transparency, being transparent, being honest, being sincere, telling the truth, showing who you really are without pretending to be anything else. The third thing is connection, being connected to people, understanding what they feel, what they want. And also that is connection is the principle where love comes from. Connection is like on and off. I mean, it's not, I love a little, not too much, 50%. You either love or you don't. You're either connected or you're not. It's on off. It's digital. It's not analogic. The other thing is growth, where you grow yourself and you also work on developing an environment that encourages and stimulates growth. I mean, this in a company is basic. If there is no growth, you don't have a company. And you need people to grow. And you know what the funny thing is that when people grow, the more and more they will become very, how can I say, very much against being controlled. But they will love to be controlled in a systemic way. Because growth is a way of controlling people systemically. In other words, you make people solid, and you make the relationship that you have with them much, much stronger because you help them grow. I've never seen a company where there is a solid growth mentality where there is a crisis. Well, of course, you have accidents. Of course, that happens anyway. Even in a very strong couple, you have crises. But one thing is to have natural crises, which you will overcome very easily. And the other thing is having a crisis because you apply indirect control, mechanistic control. And then you have balance. There has to be balance in your life, personally, interpersonally, socially, professionally. Balance. You can't ask more than what you give, and vice versa. The other thing is movement, dynamism. Movement is important. Being static is the worst thing you can do in your life or in your company. Being static, it doesn't move, it doesn't grow, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't even know where it wants to go. Has no idea. Because if a company or a human being knows where it or he wants to be, he will grow. He will get there. He will move. No question about it. And duality. It can't be, there is darkness and light everywhere, even inside people. And sometimes we have to know how to work with darkness without being overwhelmed by that darkness. But we have to know there is. For example, a leader has to know how to apply tough love and soft love. If he only uses soft love, people are going to trample all over him. If he only uses tough love, they will not want to have anything to do with him. They will want to run away from him. Okay, so when you apply these principles, you know what it means and how it's done. You don't have to fear anything. You will create a sustainable environment, and you can go strong. The people around you will go strong. And that's how things are done. That's how you have control. Good, strong, sustainable control. See you next time.